Hello lovely beaders. Welcome back to my channel. This Sweetpea pendant is a new version of a colorful design I first made 7 years ago. I decided to remake it in these elegant bronze tones and I loved the results so much I just had to share the tutorial with you. For the tutorial version itself I wanted a completely different feel. I found these beautiful rose quartz beads in my stash and simply couldn't resist using them. Here are all the materials you'll need for this project. Gather your beads and let's get started. Start by stringing 40 pieces of size 11 delica beads in color A. Always double count your beads. It's better to fix a counting error now than after finishing the first row. Pull down the beads on your thread and leave a tail that is comfortable for you. Go through the beads again to form a circle with them. The first part of the pendant is made with tubular peyote stitch, so you will need to have a firm starting circle. To complete the circle, I go through the first bead again. This makes the starting circle perfectly round. Start a peyote row with size 11 delica beads in color A. This is a simple tubular peyote row. When you step out from the first bead, string another and go through the third bead, skipping the second. The new bead will sit on top of the second bead. Repeat this step around. I will show the beginning and end of each row at normal speed, but to make it more enjoyable for you I will speed up the repeated steps so you can learn to make this pendant but not get bored if you are just watching and not beading along. You can slow down the video if you want to see every repeated step. Just click on the cogwheel icon and select the speed you want. When you bead tubular peyote you don't have an end of the row like you have with flat peyote stitch. The tubular peyote has an end of the row, but it is like a spiral. You don't turn back like in the flat peyote, you keep going in circles. But you have an end of the row and you need to keep in mind where it ends. And there, on the end of the row you need to step up to start a new row. And to do the step up, you need to go through the last bead from your starting circle and the first bead strung in the new row. Make another peyote row with the color A delicas. This row is just a simple peyote row using only one color. As you bead, your work will start to look like a small tube, not at all like the final square shape we're aiming for yet. Don't worry though. This tube is a necessary base for building the middle of the pendant. Here's a great example of how light can trick the eye. In the bag, these beads looked dark purple, but now, one by one, they catch the light and seem almost silver. Don't forget to step up for the next row. It's quite tubular, don't you think? Let's start the last tubular row. So string color A delicas again. Let me give you a quick tip on counting rows in peyote stitch, as I know it can be a bit confusing. Your very first starting circle actually counts as rows 1 and 2 at the same time. This means the next row you add is already row 3. Because of this staggered, toothy look, the easiest way to count your rows is always diagonally. For example, at the end of this row that we're beading now, you will have a total of 5 completed rows. I'll show you exactly how to count that in just a moment. Don't forget to step up for the next row. And this is how you count the rows diagonally, as I mentioned before. That's 5 rows complete. Now we can start the next part of the pendant. String 4 color B delicas using peyote stitch. We will turn this circle into a square by creating 4 sides. These first 4 delicas are the first side of that square. To make the first corner, string 2 delica beads in color A at the same time. And start making the second side by stringing 4 color bead delicas using Peyote stitch. String 2 delica beads in color A to make the second corner. Repeat around. When you string the last corner, you need to step up to the next row. To do that, go through the last delica bead from the previous row and the first bead strung in this row. We start the next row. String color B delica beads between the corners and 2 color A delica beads for the corners. If you made a peyote triangle or square before, this row will feel very familiar. If you are new to this technique, you might need to slow down the video to bead along with me. Just as a quick reminder of our progress, we have now completed 5 rows of tubular peyote stitch. This is our second row where we started to form the square shape. The easiest way to count your rows is still diagonally. To make it simple after the color change, just count the diagonal line formed by your color B delicas. Pay close attention when you reach the last corner. Before you make the step up, you must string 1 more bead after you made the corner. This is the shifting step up that I mentioned earlier. This step is not very obvious in this row, so be very careful. Do not forget that final bead. 2 rows of the square are now complete. Let's start the third row. The pattern is exactly the same as before. Use color B delica beads for the sides and 2 color A delica beads for the corners. I have to be honest, this part of the pattern can be a little boring. We still have a few more of these repetitive rows to go to finish this side of the pendant. This makes it the perfect time to put on a movie or listen to some music. Seriously, the only 2 things you really need to pay attention to are the step up at the end of each row and making sure your beads snap neatly into place. I suppose I could have designed a more complicated pattern for these sides, just to make things more interesting while we bead the long sides of the square. As we build up the shape, each row gets a little longer, which means there's plenty of space here to add a decorative pattern. For example, I could have added something with flowers or a diamond motif, or even just simple stripes. But I actually love the finished piece precisely because of this simple, clean design. In this row, the step-up part is much easier to see. It's no longer hidden next to the corner. But you still must remember to make that important step up. Okay, we have 3 rows of the square finished. Let's start the 4th row. The pattern is the same as before. Use color B delica beads for the sides and 2 color A delica beads for the corners. You might have noticed my recent patterns are a bit simpler, and I wanted to tell you why. This year is proving to be a bit of a challenge for my family. As some of you might remember, we moved to the Netherlands in 2022. The housing market here is incredibly difficult. We have a saying in Hungary for this situation. There are many Eskimos but few seals, which basically means there are too many people looking for too few houses. And we are now preparing to move again. We are staying here in the Netherlands, of course, but we have to leave our current rental home, and finding a new one is a huge and time-consuming task. This is why I wanted to ask for your patience with me if my videos are a bit simpler for a while. I will always do my best to bring you new content every week, as your support truly means the world to me. Don't forget to step up for the next row. And with row 4 complete, it's time to start row 5. Any guesses what we're going to do next? You guessed it. It's exactly the same as before. String color B delica beads for the sides and 2 color A delica beads for the corners. Just a quick note about a little step I edited out here to save some time. That annoying thread tail kept catching on my beads, so I decided to deal with it now. I simply wove it back through the first couple of rows to tighten everything up and then snipped it off. So, you won't have to watch me fight with it for the rest of the video. I want to continue our little chat about our current life challenges. I mentioned we are house hunting and it's proving to be quite difficult for us. One of the main reasons is that we are a large family with 3 children. And on top of that, we also have 2 little Maltese dogs. Many rental properties unfortunately don't allow pets. And when we do find a pet-friendly place, it's usually not big enough for our family. So, as you can imagine, the search is going very, very slowly. Don't forget to step up for the next row. Row 5 is done. And now for the big surprise for row 6. I am just kidding. Of course, the pattern is exactly the same as before. That means it's color A delica beads for the sides, and 2 color B delica beads on the corners. So, to continue our little chat from earlier, I thought I could tell you a bit about our dogs. You see, my children have forbidden me from sharing stories about them on the channel, but my dogs haven't said no yet. When we apply for rental houses, I often hear, "It would be no problem if only you didn't have dogs." But for us, that's simply not an option. Our dogs are family members and I would never give them up just because moving is harder with them. For example, when we moved from Hungary to the Netherlands, what should have been an 18-hour drive took us 2 full days because of our dogs. They just can't sit in a car for that long, so we had to make lots of stops and even find a pet-friendly motel to rest. But they love us and we love them, so it was never a burden and it never will be. And believe me, keeping them healthy is almost like raising extra children. Like many Maltese dogs, ours have allergies, which means special diets and lots of vet visits to keep them happy and with us for a long, long time. I don't want to interrupt the beading with pictures right now, but I will put a photo of my 2 little troublemakers at the very end of this video. So if you're curious to see them, make sure to watch until the end. Don't forget to step up for the next row. Starting to look really good now. The square shape is forming nicely and the sides are getting tall. But we still have 2 more rows to bead on this side. So, any guesses for the pattern of the next row? Yes, you guessed it. It's exactly the same as before. Bead your color B delica beads for the sides, and 2 color A delica beads for the corners. I actually edited a part of the video out here to save time, but I thought it was a good opportunity to explain how to add a new thread if you ever need to. I have to admit, I made a knot here that was impossible to untangle, so I had to cut my thread. Adding a new thread is basically the reverse of finishing one. You simply weave your new thread into the existing beadwork, passing it back and forth through one of the peyote rows until it feels firm and secure. Once it's secure, lead your thread to the exact spot where you left off, and then you can continue beading. You know, normally I don't make this many knots when I can really focus on my beading. But I have to admit, I was really rushing to finish this piece as life has been a bit chaotic lately. I had to keep stopping for urgent phone calls, or to run and pick up my kids from school. And isn't it ironic? When you try to rush to save time, fixing all the resulting knots just makes the whole process take even longer. Don't forget to step up for the next row. I've just finished the 7th row, so we only have 1 final row left for this side. For this last row, there is a small change in the pattern. You will still bead your color B delica beads on the sides. But for the corners, you will add only 1 color A delica bead. This single delica bead makes the corner pointed. Keep this bead in mind, as we will use it later to connect the next side once it's also complete. Don't forget that you string only 1 delica bead on the corners. While we bead this repetitive part, I thought we could continue our little chat about moving. When you move to a new place, especially a new country, it's not just about the house or the neighborhood. You have to rebuild your entire life network from scratch. It took us the last 2 years to find our trusted people here in the Netherlands. For example, a wonderful family doctor, a hairdresser for all of us, and a fantastic groomer for our 2 dogs. Our dog groomer is even a vet, so we know our little ones are in the very best hands. The thought of moving again soon and potentially losing some of these connections we've just built is quite challenging. And I'm not a very social person by nature. Starting over and building new relationships is always difficult for me. So, maybe the next chapter of my life will be simpler, but it will most likely be more difficult for a while. But I believe I've complained enough about moving, so let's continue beading our pendant. The first side of our pendant is finished. Now we need to lead our thread across to the other side to start beading the second side. To do this, simply follow the natural zigzag path of the peyote stitch. This way your thread will stay hidden inside the beads. Continue this path until you reach the other side of the pendant. The second side is made in exactly the same way as the first one. No matter where your thread is exiting from right now, the most important thing is that the corners of this new side must align perfectly with the corners of the first side. So string your color bead delica beads along the side. Stop when you reach the gap that aligns with the corner from the first side. Remember the pattern for each side. You need 4 color B delica beads for the side itself, and 2 color A delica beads for each corner. With that in mind, continue around. I will now speed up the video while we complete this entire second side. The steps are exactly the same as for the first side. The only important thing is to make sure your corners continue to align perfectly. Continue beading until you have completed the 7th row. A good way to check this is to count diagonally until you have 7 color B delica beads in a line. The very last row after that will be different, so I will be back with new instructions for that step. Until then, feel free to slow down the video if you need to follow along visually. So if I've counted correctly, that was our 7th row finished. Now it's time to connect the first side to the second side. Connecting the two sides is very simple. They will only join together at the corners. So bead the sides of the square with your color B delica beads, just like you did before. When I reach the corner, I will zoom in so you can see exactly how to make the connection. Exit your first corner bead, go through the single corner bead from the opposite side, and then back into the second corner bead. And the corners are joined together. Bead your sides with color B delica beads in the same way. And when you reach the corners, connect them like I just showed you. Now that we have some time, I'll take the opportunity to ask you that if you enjoyed this video and find value in the content I share, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving this video a like. My channel and the knowledge I share are completely free, but to keep it going and continue providing valuable content, I need your support. Your engagement helps the channel grow and reach more people, so thank you for being a part of this journey. You can also help by buying a tutorial or a jewelry from me. You can find the links in the description. Thanks for all the help. If you've reached this point with me, you can also see how nicely the pendant is starting to form a small pouch where the round beads will go. We won't need to force this section open at all for the beads to fit. In the next row we will add these beads, and with that row our pendant will be complete. With the corners joined, this is what our pendant looks like. All that's left is to place the round beads into their place. Lead your thread to the 4th delica bead from the corner. Do not add any new beads during this step. Follow the natural path of the beading so your thread stays hidden. Continue this until you reach that specific bead. When I get there, I will zoom in to show you my exact exit point. Here I am. Do you see the bead where my thread is exiting? String a 6 mm round bead. Go through the corresponding delica bead on the opposite side of the pendant. This places the new bead straight between the two sides. To secure it, go back through the 6 mm bead. And then go through your starting delica bead one more time. Your round bead should now be sitting securely between the two sides. Now you need to lead your thread to exit from the 4th delica bead along this side. To find the correct spot, this bead is the 4th one counting from the corner and also the 4th one from where your thread is now. Repeat the previous step. Pick up one 6 mm bead, go through the corresponding delica bead on the opposite side, then go back through the 6 mm bead and finally, go through your starting delica bead again. The first side of the pendant is complete with the round beads. You need to repeat this process on the remaining 3 sides. Pay close attention and make sure to attach each round bead at a precise and even distance. While we bead this repetitive part, I was thinking about the history of this Sweetpea design and I thought I'd share it with you. I first created this pendant about 7 years ago and my style was very different back then. I used to love working with lots of bright colors, and I really enjoyed it when many different shades were mixed in one piece of jewelry. The original version of this pendant was very colorful. I think I used 5 different colors for it. Each side of the square had a different color, and the colors of the corners were also different from the colors on the sides. But over the years, my own personal style has changed and I feel that general jewelry trends have also softened a bit. That's why, for me, I actually prefer this new, simpler version with just 2 colors. Of course, that doesn't mean this design can't be colorful now. I'm sure I could have found many colors that go well together. I can even imagine it with each side in a different shade of red, or with lots of beautiful purples or greens. And speaking of new ideas, as I was beading this pendant, my mind already started planning a matching earring for it. The earring would need to be much smaller, of course, so these 6 mm beads wouldn't work for that. So now I need to search for some smaller rose quartz beads to make my plan happen. But I would love to know what you think about it. Should I make a tutorial for a matching earring too? Let me know in the comments. Okay, all the rose quartz beads are now in place on every side. All that's left to do is to finish off the thread. My usual method for peyote stitch is to weave the thread back and forth through the completed rows. To make it secure, you need to turn and change direction at least 3 times. But it's not enough to just turn, you must also pass through some beads between the turns. As I'm weaving in this thread, I want to say thank you for your patience. We're almost at the end. As a little reward, I promise to show you my 2 little troublemakers. I found a super cute clip of them playing on a windy day at the beach. So after I show you the finished pendant, stick around to meet Frankie and Milady. For this pendant, I intentionally did not design a hanger. I really love how clean and minimalist it looks with the necklace chain passing through the corner that we stitched together. It's not always super easy to get the chain through this small opening, but with a little, gentle persuasion, it will go through. You see, it needs a little bit of nagging. It's a very elegant solution, don't you think? I'm so fond of how these pendants turned out. I truly hope you will bead one and give this pattern a chance. And now, as promised, please meet my 2 little white troublemakers having some fun at a beach nearby. And that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for hanging out with me. See you next week.